Alright all, I originally uploaded a review of the movie Birdemic as part of my Hyp3r Halloween special. Unfortunately, it got claimed and it's not viewable in North America, at least the US or Canada. I want my viewers to at least be able to hear my review, so while I see what I can do about the original video, please enjoy this video that does not feature any clips from the Birdemic movie, but instead features my Hyp3r Halloween opening and a bunch of stock footage from various birds. And no, I'm not kidding. This is just going to be a video full of stock footage of birds. Enjoy. Hello all, and welcome to a Hyp3r Blue movie review. The goal of today's review is to watch a bad film and find the good within the bad. That is, what makes this movie worth watching. Today's film? Birdemic, Shock and Terror. Let's begin.
It's Hyp3r Halloween!
Imagine a world where it gets so warm that birds begin to rise up and slay mankind. That, my friends, is the gruesome world of Birdemic, Shock and Terror. This movie was produced with a less than $10,000 budget and a dream. That dream? Make an incoherent sci-fi horror thriller and link it to global warming to make it topical. I mean, I'm guessing it was supposed to be incoherent because this film is very, very, very incoherent. The film was written, directed, and mostly produced by James Wynn. Birdemic was released in 2010 and is Wynn's third movie overall, although his second film was actually not released until 2017. Not really sure how you can manage that, but here we are. All of his films share similar themes to set up the plot of the movie. Guy meets girl, guy becomes successful in his business, guy hits it off with girl, and then everything goes to hell. So does Birdemic follow this plot? Let's find out. The plot of Birdemic revolves around Rod and Nathalie. Full disclosure, this is actually the first time I've heard the name Nathalie. I honestly thought Rod had a lisp throughout the movie. Apparently, though, Nathalie is a very popular name, so I guess I've just been living under a rock. Rod is a software salesman that strikes it rich after receiving a bonus for his impressive $1 million sale. And no, the movie doesn't actually explain what a software salesman means. Rod's $1 million deal was made by offering his client 50% off. Brilliant! So he either cut a $2 million proposal to a $1 million proposal, or he cut a $1 million proposal down to $500,000. The protagonist, ladies and gentlemen. Rod celebrates his big sale with as much enthusiasm as a tree blowing in a slight breeze. After Rod's big deal, his company is bought out for billions, and he is able to retire early. So what does he do with his newfound money? Why, he creates a startup company and continues to work. Wait. Moron. So that's Rod, but now let's take a look at Nathalie. We learn that Nathalie is an aspiring fashion model that lands a gig at Victoria's Secret. She somehow lands this gig by taking photos in a random 1-hour Photoshop. Are these the luckiest people in the world, or what? Well, probably not, because they are in Birdemic. While Nathalie seems like a normal human being, Rod comes off as more of an android that was sent to learn about the ways of being human. I mention this because his acting and mannerisms are very bizarre. Case in point, when Rod first runs into Nathalie, he stares awkwardly at her and proceeds to stalk her after she leaves the restaurant they're in. He almost looks like a slasher movie villain. Anyhow, they start dating and really hit it off. The movie shows Rod and Nathalie going on dates, their dealings with people and businesses, double dates with their friends who are also dating apparently, and hanging out with their family. Rod does his best to act as human as his programming allows, but he can't seem to grasp the basic concept of rhythm and body motion. Quick aside, during this awkward dance scene, we're actually able to enjoy one of Damian Carter's hit singles. That's not hyperbole on my part either. I actually really enjoy this song. Damian is very into it with his performance, and the song is pretty catchy. It's probably the best part of this movie, non-cheesy acting and terrible effects aside. Plus, the main characters can't dance, so it makes for a really great scene. For more information on why this song is in Birdemic, check out an interview with Damian that I found online. Link is in the description below. Now, back to the plot. It's after all of this that the couple decides to consummate their relationship in a local hotel. This is when Wynn's fourth trope comes into play. Shit hits the fan. Rod and Nathalie wake up to screeching birds outside of their hotel room. We see these birds terrorizing the local area, and they even explode upon impact on the ground. Rod and Nathalie manage to sneak out of their room and locate another couple, ex-Marine Ramsey and his girlfriend Becky. They arm themselves with the best weapon available, coat hangers. Hey, you laugh, but these hangers give them an amazing stat boost in strength and stamina, and also provide immunity against exploding birds. They gain so much immunity, in fact, that they make it to Ramsey's car, fend off the birds, and drive away. Luckily for our heroes, Ramsey had guns in his car, so now the party is equipped with firearms. The group drives around in search for supplies, survivors, and food. They happen upon some kids that survived an attack. Their parents, not so lucky. So the group decides to bring them along. They grab some food from a market and they stop at a nearby park, and that's where they find a scientist, and you can't tell I'm using air quotes here, that tells the group that the birds are sick and that's what's causing their aggression. After this, Becky dies while trying to use the bathroom in public. We're led to an emotional scene where Ramsey laments over the loss of his girlfriend. And then the group leaves. In the next scene, they come upon a bus that's being attacked by the birds. Ramsey attempts to save everyone on the bus, but we're then introduced to the birds' newest attack, acid spit. Ramsey and the survivors are killed by the acid, so Rod, Nathalie, and the kids are left to fend for themselves. Silver lining, though, the acid is never seen again throughout the entire film, so the group lucks out there. After that scene, the group runs into a hippie living in the forest. He informs everyone that the birds are only attacking gas stations and mainly populated areas. The hippie reminds me a little bit of a knockoff Woody Harrelson, but that just might be me. The group banter back and forth with the hippie, but knockoff Woody Harrelson hears a mountain lion and decides to scurry off. As the group tries to leave the forest, the birds attack. Guess the hippie was actually wrong. We're treated to some lovely forest fire effects as the group runs towards their car. Again, we're treated to more driving and more searching for things. Rod and Nathalie continue their journey and end up finding their friends dead on the side of the road. They were killed by the birds, somehow. The group decides to stop at a beach for food. Rod and Nathalie begin to fish and gather seaweed, respectively. Rod does his best job to cook the fish that he caught, but it's obvious he's never done something like this before in his life. The group hears birds screeching in the distance and they rush back to their car. They hide out in their car and luckily they're safe. The car must have actually picked up that anti-explosive ability I mentioned earlier. Either that or someone forgot that the birds were supposed to explode. A flock of doves arrives and signals the end of the attack as the birds all fly away into the distance. Our heroes spend the remainder of the movie watching as the birds fly away. So now that we've discussed the plot at length, let's critique the movie. This movie is considered to be one of the worst films of all time, and it's pretty easy to see how it gained that distinction. The audio is bad throughout the movie, the dialogue is unrealistic, and the editing is clunky. Plus, the main antagonists, the birds, look like clip art GIFs. Bad clip art GIFs. Or GIFs if you like. The story is where this movie really falls apart. 40-minute romance story aside, there is a build-up to the chaos, but it just isn't executed that well. In a better story, the news programs would call out changes in birds' behavior throughout the country to foreshadow what's about to take place. The transition from the peaceful, serene settings to literally screeching chaos is so out of the blue, it's more comical than shocking. Then you have the inconsistent reasoning behind the attacks. I get that the movie was going for global warming is causing the birds to become aggressive, but it's never explained how they can explode or spit acid. Plus, there was the scientists saying that the birds were infected with something. I'm guessing they were infected with global warming. Speaking of, the mentions of global warming or environmental issues are not subtle at all. Whether it's the couples going to see an inconvenient truth, Rod bragging about driving a Ford Mustang that gets 100 miles per gallon because it's a hybrid, which wasn't a thing back in 2010, or the blatant environmental websites that are plastered over the walls in the hotels or in people's shirts. The message is as subtle as a brick to the head. Again, a better story would intertwine the narrative of global warming affecting something that causes the bird's aggression. The acting also doesn't help the movie, although it does make it unintentionally funny. The dialogue is awkward at best. The lack of emotion from our protagonist rivals most blocks of wood. Although I can't say that I really blame him because the movie is Birdemic after all. The audio is another big issue for the movie. The audio is incredibly low when some characters speak, but not for every character. Also, the background noise of wherever the characters are drowns out the actors' voices. There's no attempt to keep the background noise out of the audio. I mean, the characters' voices are drowned out on every beach scene due to the waves crashing in the background. The audio issues are even present in closed-door environments. There is also an exorbitant amount of driving scenes placed in this movie. The movie starts with a 4-minute car ride intro. Sometimes the camera's taking shots of the car driving, and sometimes we're treated to the driver's view. Either way, it goes on for way too long. Most of the characters spend time driving during the bird attack portion of the movie, and there are countless scenes of characters parking and pulling out of spots. There's also scenes where you're just watching the characters walk from point A to point B as well, and it just seems like it was an obvious way to pad out the movie. It makes for a funny moment, but they're not necessary and honestly detract from the overall experience. So what's the verdict? Is this movie a diamond in the rough, or is it just flat out bad? Well, I mean it is bad, but I'd say it's more of a shiny rock than a diamond. A shiny rock that's interesting to look at and keep around, but isn't classified as anything special. There are a lot of negative things about this movie, the audio, the dialogue, the story, but that also works in its favor. This movie is a train wreck, but it's a fun movie to watch with friends and laugh at. If I had to give this movie a rating, I would give it 1 awkwardly long thumbs up out of 5. But I cannot deny the laughs that this movie provided me and my friends as we watched it. I highly suggest checking this movie out with a group of friends. You will not be disappointed. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed my first movie review. As always, thank you for watching, and Hyp3r Halloween.